Hello everyone and welcome back to Fight by Numbers, presented to you by UltimatePoker.com. Today we're going to take a look at the co-and main event of the evening at UFC 171 in Dallas, Texas on March 15th. Let's start out and take a look at Johnny Hendricks versus Robbie Lawler, two elite welterweights battling it out for the vacant UFC welterweight title. Johnny Hendricks is a four-time All-American wrestler with exceptional punching power, holding vicious KO victories against Martin Kampmann and John Fitch. His opponent is the veteran Robbie Lawler, a fighter who made his pro debut 13 years ago. Lawler received his first ever shot at UFC Gold due to his recent 3-win streak over Josh Koscheck, Bobby Volker, and Rory McDonald. Now, Hendricks has never even been knocked down with a strike in the UFC, but I think we're going to really see Lawler test his chin if the fight remains a shootout on the feet. However, good news for Hendricks is that he is the most prolific wrestler in the UFC's welterweight division today. Hendricks leads the division with 4.77 takedowns landed per 15 minutes. That includes 2 takedowns against George St. Pierre, 2 against Josh Koscheck, and 6 against Rick Story, all very, very tough wrestlers in their own right. Unfortunately for Lawler, his takedown defense only comes in at about average compared to the rest of the welterweight division. In his career, Lawler has defended takedowns at a 63% rate and has been taken down an average of 1.9 times per 15 minutes, which isn't bad at all, but it's unlikely that Lawler will consistently find a way to keep the fight standing against Hendricks, who profiles as the best wrestler Lawler has ever been matched up against. Lawler also isn't a threat to submit or outwork Hendricks on the ground. Lawler has never attempted a submission in the UFC, and if Lawler is taken down in this fight, which he likely will be, he's much more likely to have to work his way back to his feet than to out-grapple Hendricks. Not an easy task. I have to consider Hendricks a strong favorite to win this fight due to his combination of dominant wrestling and KO power. I don't see Lawler consistently being able to stop Hendricks' takedowns if that's where Hendricks wants to take the fight. At the same time, though, Lawler's ability to win by sudden knockout cannot be ignored, and he certainly has a chance to win this fight as long as the two of them are standing, but I'm picking Hendricks. Let's now move to the co-main event of the evening, a brawl between Carlos Condit and Tyron Woodley. Carlos Condit is a former WEC and UFC interim champion with notable wins over Nick Diaz, Jake Ellenberger, and Dan Hardy, and is currently ranked number 2 in the division. Tyron Woodley is a decorated collegiate wrestler coming off of an incredible knockout victory over Josh Koscheck back at UFC 167. This is a fight that clearly favors Carlos Condit as long as it remains standing. Condit is an excellent kickboxer, a fighter who lands consistently more strikes than his opponents despite being taken down very frequently. Overall, Condit historically lands 3.24 strikes per minute, while only absorbing 2.23 strikes per minute. Compare that to Woodley, who actually absorbs slightly more strikes than he's dealt to opponents, and that's versus indisputably weaker competition than whom Condit has faced. Condit is excellent at controlling distance and landing strikes without absorbing them. That strike differential becomes even more impressive when considering that Condit is often forced into bottom position on the ground, while Woodley often works from top position. And by often, I mean often. As skilled as Condit is on the feet, his takedown defense is among the worst in the UFC. Condit has been taken down a total of 51 times in 15 fights, including 25 times in his last 3 fights. While Condit has had to face excellent wrestlers like Johnny Hendricks, George St. Pierre, and Jake Ellenberger, he's also been taken down frequently by opponents less known for their wrestling. Martin Kampmann took down Condit 11 times in 2 fights, and while I love Martin Kampmann, he's no Brock Lesnar. Woodley has a wrestling background and is likely to take full advantage of it by repeatedly attempting to put Condit on his back. While Woodley is not a prolific attacker from top position, he has shown in a series of Strikeforce fights that he can successfully control his opponents on the ground. As active as Condit is off of his back, it's nearly impossible for a fighter to win a decision from the bottom position. Good news for Condit is that he's very capable of getting back to his feet after being taken down. This is why Hendricks had to complete 12 takedowns against him in 15 minutes, and it's also why Kampmann completed 4 takedowns in 1 round against him. Woodley may be able to take Condit down, but he's very likely to struggle to keep him there. Condit defeated Kampmann by making Kampmann work very hard to land his takedowns and even harder to keep them. Kampmann became fatigued, and Condit was able to land 100 significant strikes en route to his 4th round TKO victory. And I believe we're going to have to see a very similar fight from Condit here. He's going to have to stuff Woodley's takedowns, and if he is taken down, get back to his feet very quickly. But if he's successful in doing this, I think we might see Woodley fatigue in the later rounds and give Condit an opportunity to win this fight. On the other hand, If Woodley is able to land his takedowns with relative ease, I think it'll be very difficult for Condit to win on the scorecards or by finish. Overall, I value Condit's conditioning and finishing ability slightly more than Woodley's wrestling. It's enough for me to narrowly favor Condit to win this fight, but it's going to be a good one. Taking a look at the betting lines for this card, Tyron Woodley is about a 1.5 to 1 underdog against Carlos Condit, whereas Robbie Lawler is almost a 4 to 1 underdog here against Johnny Hendricks. I don't think there's a ton of value to be had on either fight. I think Carlos Condit is going to win the fight slightly more often than the betting lines are indicating, but there's no tremendous value here in my opinion. In our last fight by numbers, I picked Renan Barão, Jose Aldo, and Alistair Overeem to win. We went 3-0, scoop-a-loop. Hopefully these two guys win as well and move our record to 5-0. I'm Jason Somerville. If you enjoyed this video, let us know in the comments below, and we will see you for more fight by numbers very soon.